Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Tom. Let's talk about top 10 favorite 1960s album closers. That's a good one, right? A lot of great albums. I mean, so many to mention, but we're only going to pick 10 here. So let's get started here with my number 10 is the debut from Moby Grape. An absolute perfect album in my opinion, and it ends on quite a climax with the song Indifference. I think there's like 3 guitars going on at once, and you've got a steady rhythm going, and then it ends on this really weird little, it kind of breaks down, and then it just kind of just drifts away and just ends on this kind of one single note. It's perfect. So that would be my number 10, Moby Grape, Indifference, off the debut from '67. Next, number 9, we're gonna go with another great debut from '67, Leonard Cohen, The Songs of Leonard Cohen. The song is, what is that song? It is, One of Us Cannot Be Wrong. What a great tune. It's so eerie, and the thing about Leonard is that, you know, I was never a Leonard fan until maybe about 5 years ago. I started discovering the discography, but he really has his way with a real subtle melody, you know, a really understated melody, and it's how he writes all the time, and it just gets into your subconscious, you know. And the melody on One of Us Cannot Be Wrong is just stellar. The lyrics are kind of eerie and creepy, and then in this song too, ends on kind of a anticlimactic end with him kind of wailing in the background and things kind of falling apart, but just kind of makes sense with the content of the lyrics and everything. But a stellar album closer, One of Us Cannot Be Wrong, Leonard Cohen, Songs of Leonard Cohen, 1967. Number 8, we're going to go with the Stones, Beggar's Banquet, their last album with Brian Jones. And we're going to go with the song Salt of the Earth that closes the record. It starts off with a rare Keith appearance. He sings the verse in the beginning. And then as the song goes by, there is some choir going on, and a great ending, a great chorus there with everyone singing and the chorus and everything, but a great closer on Beggar's Banquet. I almost picked Something Happened to Me Yesterday from Between the Buttons, but I just couldn't decide. But sometimes this one I really dig a lot. So Salt of the Earth off Beggar's Banquet, Rolling Stones, my number 8, I believe, of greatest '60s album closers. Number 7, Bob Dylan, Desolation Row. What else could be said about this absolute surreal masterpiece? Ends a perfect album. This is my favorite Dylan album from start to finish. I think it has probably my favorite melodies he's ever done, you know, are on this record here. Just like Tom Thumb's Blues, It Takes a Lot to Laugh, It Takes a Train to Cry, Queen Chain Approximately, all those tunes are just, and then of course Desolation Row. It's just another great melody. It goes on forever. You don't want it to end, and that harmonica and the faster strumming comes in at the end, and it just ends on such a high note. So that's my number 7, is Dylan's Desolation Row off Highway 61 Revisited from '65. Number 6 is Inhaled Twas in I from Procol Harum. Probably one of the first pieces of kind of prog that was put on record, I think a whole year even before King Crimson. It's an amazing piece. It has about 4 different parts in it. Kind of has to do with the meaning of life, but you've got some killer vocal action from Gary Brooker, and really cool fuzzed out Hendrix-like guitar by Robin Trower, and of course B.J. Wilson, one of the greatest drummers ever, and Matthew Fisher. I believe Dave Ball's on this record, but it takes up about 17 minutes, 51 seconds. But what an amazing piece, and an amazing album too. This is off this is their second album, Shine On Brightly, and great album closer, Inhaled Twas in I, my number 7 from album closers of the '60s favorites. And number 5, the great Melancholy Caroline No from Pet Sounds. Always loved this tune. I thought it was a even though it was kind of a sad closer, just a beautiful, beautiful closer to a perfect album. Nothing else really could be said about it. Just a beautiful melody, beautiful arrangement, and then of course the train at the end, almost kind of signifying the end of a film. Almost, that's what it feels like. This album, like the end of a film at the end of that song. So I would say, where does this come in? This is number 5, the Beach Boys, Caroline No, off the infamous Pet Sounds, 66. Number 4 of my favorite album closers from the 60s is The Doors, When the Music's Over. My favorite longest song they've ever done. Some people love the end, but I really dig When the Music's Over because there's so much dynamics going in there, so many like quiet parts and then explosive parts, and then there's a little bit of poetry going on in the middle with Jim, and I don't know, it's hard to beat, really hard to beat this tune. And I think to me, this is the Doors at their kind of early peak, Jim Morrison completely at his best vocally before he started losing the voice a little bit, but starting going into that more alcohol voiced kind of tenor. But yeah, When the Music's Over is a stellar closing to this album, already a perfect album, and that's my number 4 on the favorite albums closers of the 60s. Number 3 would be Waterloo Sunset from the Kinks, Something Else by the Kinks. This is their first real solid record, Face to Faces as well, but this one really is solid from start to finish. There is just not a weak spot, and this would continue a run of about 10 to 12 years for my taste of perfect albums. And what can you say about Waterloo Sunset? It is one of the most beautiful songs ever written, no question about it. It's part of your DNA at this point, a lot of us at least. And the whole record, from David Watts, Death of a Clown, Two Sisters, No Return, Harry Rag, Tin Soldier Man, Situation Vacant. On side 1, Love Me Till the, that's side 1, and then side 2, Love Me Till the Sun Shines, Lazy Old Sun, Afternoon Tea, Funny Face, End of the Season, ending with Waterloo Sunset. A perfect ending to this record, and my top 3 favorite of all time ending closers of the 60s. And there you go. Came out in early 68 in America, and I think it came out a little earlier or later in 67 in the UK, but this is the reprise version here. Number 2, and nothing could be denied about this. If you could just get your mind together. Is there a better closer than this, really? Are you experienced? That backward guitar solo, it just still blows me away to this day. I mean, it's just absolute perfection. That solo, it sounds like it was constructed in a way that is unknown to man. So we know everything about this album already. It's perfect from start to finish. But as far as album closers go, this is just about at the top for me. Number 2, Are You Experienced? And then, of course, my all-time favorite album closers of all time, not just the 60s, but here's number 1, Tomorrow Never Knows, probably one of the most revolutionary pieces of music in the rock genre, rock pop genre. Nothing else more can be said about it, is that it's still timeless. It's just so satisfying every time you listen to it. It just takes you somewhere. There's really nothing like it. It's like the predecessor of rave and some maybe electronica. And it will always sound timeless because it is what it is. So that's my number 1 on the top 10 favorite 1960s album closers. I really like to know what yours are. Very curious. Please leave those in the comment sections. And please press subscribe. And we'll talk to you very soon. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.